Okay, so I have a few questions here, which is fine. Questions. What about a totally new one? When is AmpX coming? AmpX is coming this year. I have to finalize it, and we will do a show at Guitar Summit in September, and then we will start production, and then we'll see AmpX. And AmpX is gonna be killer. Next question, Thomas from Bill. Do you have a particular method of determining the optimal drive level of a pedal boost or drive when using in front of the AMP1? Yes, it's a general thing about gain. So everybody knows that I use the volume control on the guitar, which is kind of the first gain, because whatever comes from the pickups, this is the output volume of the guitar, which is kind of what we see in the amp as a gain volume. This and this, both, how can we do this? Yeah, these two determine the amount of gain I have. So there's a couple of options. Me personally, you have seen, I have put this on 10, and now I can use my volume control. So this was like very low, all the way up. Maybe if I play all the way up, it's already too much for a rhythm guitar. So now I have two options. I can dial back on the guitar. I go to 7, 5, or I go back here to 7. That probably sounds even better. So the guitar is on 10 and the amp is down to 7 or 6. And what I'm looking for is the point where the string is still articulate and has a rich sound. So the way I would do it, I would start from lower and increase the output. Like I just do it with the guitar here. You know, this is not a rich sound. So I increase the volume here. And here we are talking now. Yeah. And I kind of like it the most now with this on 10 and this dialed back to 6. So that is my method how I dial in gain. And when I bring in another pedal, I can use the internal boost here because it's simple. It's actually a pedal built into the AMP1. See, when everything is on 10, this is on 10, the boost is all the way up on 10, and the guitar is on 10, it's kind of too much for what I just played. But the moment I play lead, you know, it's perfect. So if you're a volume all the way up player, you have of course to dial back this gain here to like 6 where we liked it. And when I bring in an extra gain from a pedal, let's double check if it's not getting too much and over the top. It's getting a bit woofy, so I can either reduce this gain more, or I can have this back and reduce the gain on the boost. Maybe even more. So that's my approach on dialing in gain. Where are we? Okay, videos are extra runterkomprimiert. Okay, this is yeah. We tried everything. Anyway, so tomorrow we will have this episode with no hiccups. So where's the difference between? Where is the difference in the Mercury AMP1? Rudi, what is the question precisely? Where is the difference in the Mercury AMP1 versus the Iridium, or in the channels here? Can you put that in a clearer form? Where's the difference? Mercury is Mercury, and there's the 3 channels, the clean channel. And by the way, Rudi is the guy, the young guy that plays with us, and he played the Mercury on stage. And there was like, you will see that tomorrow in the clip. There was no sound check. He was coming on stage, plugged in, I turned knobs, and he said, fine, and play. And the rest was history. You can watch that tomorrow, and Rudi is killer. Okay, next question. Machst du diese behind the nut quietsch dings sounds? So what is my behind the nut tricks here? Let me show you. It's pretty simple. 2 things. One is I use my nail of the guitar, of the, what is it, middle finger, and I kind of snip it here. To plug like the low E string. Sometimes I do it on other strings. But the main thing is, what I do the most is like I brush through all the strings. And while I do that, I push down the whammy bar and bring it up. So, and now we need some gain, and then this is this noise. So in slow, but it needs to be fast and surprising. This is a. That's what I do. Okay. Oli P, is Julian only responsible for the AmpX, or is he also building the web portal for downloading AmpX content? No, I mean, he is involved as the technician that has to specify the formats that are transferred over the internet, and the My AmpX page, which later will give you access to the AmpX sounds. And this is a special programmer knowledge that we have from external company that we hired especially to create that platform. So we can exchange new so-called Blugprints, which are amp models that you can put onto your AmpX. Congrats from Brazil. Hello. Nice to see you from all across the world, and especially from Brazil. It's one of the countries on my wish list. Okay. Do you adjust the way you hold the pick when you're going strumming to single note lines? Of course. I mean, my pick is between my fingers, my thumb, and my here you can see that. And the way, I mean, I have a basic position. But you see, I move with the hand in like more a solo position the moment I play single notes. So, you know, rhythm guitar is a little bit somewhere else, especially when I play chords. When I play like power chords, it's more similar to the solo position, but see, I move towards the neck for the chords. That's the way I do it. Okay, gain staging is a good topic for a full episode. I have done something on this, but I can repeat that or even bring more to the table, because the whole gain structure is probably not so clear for many people. I mean, this is why do we have vintage amps like my old Marshalls, and why do they sound so great when they are cranked, and what is a power soak, and what is actually overdriving at what point in the circuitry, and what is the effect in the sound coming from the different stages in the signal path of an amp. I find this quite interesting, and I would like to do an episode on the gain staging and stacking inside an amplifier, because this is also something that we analyze day in, day out for AmpX, because any amp that we recreate has a certain way how the different stages interact, and this is gain stacking basically, or gain staging. And this is what people do with pedals as well. But the thing is, once you understand the cooking recipe or the recipe, how that works, and what is too much and not enough, what I just showed you with the boost and you know, the guitar, like we have 3 controls here, the guitar, the boost control and the gain, and how to balance it out to get the right point for the most dynamic or tone or feel, so nothing gets out of control, everything is at the perfect spot. And that's actually what happens in amps too, and this is why some of those amps to me sound best cranked, because there comes extra gain from, like, let's say the phase inverter stage, and even sometimes the power amp. Okay, back to the next question. Hi Thomas, ich bin der Typ mit der Pre-CBS 64er Bridge Plugger, warte auf dich, hatte dir auf Facebook geschrieben. Oh, I forgot you, sorry, Norbert Heller auf Facebook. Don't write to me on Facebook, because I have 5 profiles on Facebook and I have no idea where you are on which profile, and I cannot monitor that. Norbert, please write to me on any address on Bluguitar, you know, whatever, info@bluguitar.com or youtube@bluguitar.com or whatever. It will end up and I will see it. And then, because it's no wonder that I have forgotten about you, because I can't do all the 5 Facebook profiles every day. And it's, yeah, anyway, so please write me back on that. Okay, Bill, thank you for the answer. Rudy, I meant the difference to the original AMP1. Aha. So Rudy has now a more precise question. The Mercury and the original AMP1, which is now being called the Silver Edition, and how can we tell it's different? It is no Mercury here. And what is the difference? Let me see. Some of those are... okay, yeah, I think that's a good one. Okay, it has a mark, something is broken, but okay, I can simply show it to you. Speaker, And so let me get rid of this, rid of that. Bye-bye, American Pie. And let me put this to the middle. Why is it not working? Because this is going nowhere, or is it? Huh? Interesting. 1, 2. Ah, maybe it's not plugged in on the other side, but it is. Ah, stupid me, I have to plug in here now, and I have to plug in here. So, okay, now we're back on, on the blog. I just had I have to do my setup correctly. So when we are talking about a clean channel, I don't see a big difference. Okay, this is the Mercury edition, and this has a way cooler reverb. That's the silver edition. So versus Mercury. This alone, to me, is worth buying a Mercury. But there are some sweet spots on the silver edition, like put a silver on 5 or 6 gain. I have everything kind of in the middle on both units, and listen to a silver with the vintage channel. I think that's a tone. So there is nothing wrong about a silver. The moment when I crank this to 10, it's actually pretty much like my very worn out vintage Marshalls behind me. And that's, a lot of people didn't like that. They thought it's too much, too muddy. But this is vintage. And of course, that's a matter of taste. So if you use less gain, a silver has its beauty. If you have more gain, it's kind of a bit fuzzy compared to a Mercury. So that's the Mercury, and that's the silver. To me, with the Strat, it's still a killer sound. Nothing wrong. Classic, I think this is a bit more 800-ish. It's a bit tighter. We are pretty loud on both amps. Let's go back. Yeah, that's the Mercury, killer sound. That's the silver, also killer sound. And now when we go for the modern channel on both, the Mercury is a bit more controlled than the again more vintagey sounding, a little fuzzier sounding silver edition. But still, it has a beauty. So my personal opinion is the Mercury is probably the more versatile and more flexible amp. It handles, you know, humbuckers better. But if you know, a few of the tones of the silver are still magic. And that's why silver rules. So they're both great. And I just know that we have fans of the silver, but we have probably more fans of the Mercury. But it's not like this is shit and this is great. No, it's not like that. They're all AMP1s, and you know, all my AMP1s have a good sound. It's just a matter of taste, if it suits your playing and what do you expect and how you interact with the amp. And the same thing about the Iridium. The Iridium it's even tighter. So when we have a line, I would say this is vintage as can be. This is vintage and this is kind of a more modern amp, but still has an organic sound. And I would say, yeah. Hey, the thing is, best is you check them out for yourself and feel it. Okay, Rudi, good question. So where was a difference with original AMP1? Guitar nerd, Switzerland must have AmpX, dear Thomas. Yeah, everybody wants AmpX. I was playing the AmpX prototype still, but it's getting there. Viele quetschen ihr Gitarrenkabel zwischen, Gitarren zwischen Gitarre und Gurt. Warum machst du das nicht oder gibt es dafür einen Grund? Okay. MBB says many put the guitar cable between the strap and the thing here. Well, one reason is, imagine I get stuck with a whammy bar. Well, in this case, with this guitar, the whammy bar doesn't go over the guitar jack. But I had this in the past where this went over there and got stuck underneath the cable. And this is something you don't want to go to. And the other thing is, I don't need it because my socket is solid enough. It does the job. So, but hey, it's a preference. If you feel safer with the cable underneath your strap, go and do it. Many people do it. I don't. But matter of taste. Does the impedance curve of a speaker have a large effect on the coloring of a particular tone? Bill, very good question. If we are talking impedance, we are talking, you know, there's 8 ohm or 16 ohm speakers. And the number 8 is a value for impedance measured at I think 1 kilohertz or at a specific point, but it is not a fixed impedance for every frequency. Each of the cabinets have an impedance curve. So the ohms, so to speak, they vary and they get a lot higher at the lower and at the high end because that's the curve. And that is something that interacts with the power amp of your tube amp or of AMP1, which is designed to react like a tube amp, which is different from most of the, let's say, Class D amplifiers that the guys in the PA department use, which you can sometimes buy as guitar products as well, because they are not properly designed for guitar, which is the case with our power amps here and the amps. And this impedance curve would probably look like this. So here's your 100 Hertz, and there's your 10K. There is something in the bass, and there's some variation here, and probably that point is measured. I don't know exactly where it's measured. But that might be 8 ohms, and the difference in the ohms, depending on the frequency, which is the lower level thing, has an effect on the power amp, because the power amp has to push, gets a different feedback from the speaker through the so-called current feedback, which is a current that goes back into the power amp. And different notes, therefore, are overdriven faster when the power amp is cranked than other notes. And that's part of the magic when you crank such a Marshall on a real cabinet or on a so-called reactive load. Because this kind of curve is what the speaker is doing, and this is what a reactive load tries to emulate. A resistor would be just one and the same single line for all the frequencies, the same resistance, just one line. Any frequency would have the same resistance. And the difference is a reactive load tries to follow a speaker impedance curve. And when the power amp has a different interaction with the speaker, it is reacting differently, and that feels different, and that breaks up differently. So that's a big part of the sound. For instance, modern amps do have a punch or thumb control next to the presence, which is also the case in the Iridium edition. So the low end interacts more with the speaker than the mid-range, and thereby you get this kind of chuck, or that kind of spongy but intense feel for the low end, which is combined with a tight preamp, and that's a tight, big, fat, rich sound that you enjoy playing. And that's so that's very important. So, Bill, the question is, does the impedance curve of a speaker have a large effect on the coloring of a particular tone? Yes, it does. In many aspects, it is a filter that is going on in combination with the power amp. Even the frequency would be flat. This is changing, and it changes a lot of the feel as well. I should do an impedance episode with a properly studied engineer like Julian one day. I just know the basics, and I know the musical aspects, and I know what's happening there. But he might explain it in real scientific ways. Okay. Huckleberry Finn, ist der AMP1 auch für zu Hause geeignet? in English, is AMP1 suitable for home use? Sure, and let me show you why. It shows on the master volume. So when I go down to so I'm very low in volume here. Four or five starts to be stage volume, but you can hear at it sounds rich and balanced even at the lowest volume. And also my vintage channel, you know. See, it's on one. And I'm very, very proud of AMP1 vintage channel, because in the preamp channel, in the vintage, I already have some kind of tube amp zagging that happens when I crank one of my old Marshalls. I mean, maybe you can imagine that. It sounds not like a overdrive pedal that has a more linear overdrive, maybe with a nice color, but it's not blooming, it's not reacting like a tube amp. And see, this is mine. We are on one. So let's do it on 1.5, or maybe increase the noise with the mixing console. See, very low setting, 1.5. This is what you would use at home for practicing. So this is very well in home use and on stage. This is why I'm so proud of this new design that we created, that it's actually meeting modern demands. So, good question. Perfect for blues, yeah. Okay. Do you see AmpX after release 29 having unique amp models and custom builds with builders and artists such as? Yes, of course. That's YMESYDT. This is what we are. What's our concept for AmpX? We want to make collaborations, and I have a few people on the list. And it will start not with massive numbers, but it will start with massive quality, and then you will see more and more coming. And even when doing the launch, you will see a few basic amps from my collection besides the AMP1s that are in there. Okay. Okay. Alien Love Secrets. Okay. When you're improvising live, do you think shapes, notes, or just let go? Well, mostly I just let go. Shapes, maybe I think of all the things, but not so conscious. You know, when I improvise, let's improvise. Let me go back for the regular setting and just for fun. So what was I thinking here? I think chords, because now there is nobody else in the room that plays the chords, so I have to outline the chords while I improvise. And that's notes, because chords is the combination of notes. Like the A minor is A, C, E. And when I play, you know, there's A, there's E, there's C. But the way I do it is not, oh, I have to play a C because it's in the chord. It's stuff that I know, and that's stuff that I simply do by intuition in a way. Of course, I'm aware of that, and that's why I pay attention to the choice of notes, and I think the most important thing is that I listen to myself while playing. And that's something I find not everybody is doing. And therefore I pull faces when I play shit, which I do quite a lot. And I enjoy notes because they express something. So that's the melodic approach. You know, sometimes it's like, that note was cool. And later on I can analyze if that's a -6 or a 11 or whatever. I have a few notes or intervals that I tend to like more than others, and that's kind of my style, maybe. But I don't think, in a way, on that level. It's surfing. I'm free floating, and of course, then I have my patterns. I think, oh no, now I need something fast. It's not conscious, but it's like, okay, I play a cool note, and then I think, now it's time for, something weird, and then I come up with something. Okay, that's all normal, you know. You play that kind of. This, for instance, is a typical, I have the feeling that I have to show off. I played enough of this melodic stuff, or enough of that, how would you say, where the harmony was in focus. And then I thought, okay, it's like a drummer, now I have to do a break. Hello guys, there was the groove, and now here's me. And then I go for one of those fast lines. And basically it's anything in the scale, and sometimes I do it out of scale even. You know, you can go and have like especially like having a different position. Everybody goes for the pentatonic standard thing, and of course we can do something fast within that box, but we can also go diatonic. So, and then I can do it in the box. But the more I'm out of that box, the more exciting it sounds. It's like, wow, this guy knows jazz. He plays shit. He plays the same notes, but in a different box. And what happens, just by moving there, the note choices are more expensive, because it's like, it's the fourth note of the scale, or they call it the 11. So here's your root note on the 10th fret of the B string. So, maybe if you consider that as box playing, my clever thought could be, well, use a different box to sound different. but I have no deeper thoughts in that moment. I just play that thing. It's something that I probably process in my brain at different times, but when I'm on stage, I just improvise. And there are these little sparks of, oh, maybe that's a cool note, and maybe that's a cool box. And the moment I really get lost in the music, I think I play the best. And therefore, I try not to think on stage. More listen and let go. It's a mental thing. Music is a drug. I don't need drugs. I just need to listen and enjoy it and kind of get my electricity back from my speaker into my ears and the whole thing that I experience in the moment. Is it magic? For me, it's not magic. It's something that builds up over years with experience, and it's fun. That's how I see the whole thing. Where are we? Improvising. Okay. MBB, I love the silver edition, perfect for blues. Yes, there's something. And actually perfect for some classic rock sounds. Vintage Channel 5 Magic for Les Pauls too. They're on the silver. But the same, every amp has its sweet spots. And that always goes in combination with what you are doing and what guitar you are choosing. And so I always told people when the Mercury came out and people said, oh yeah, it's so much better. Wait a minute, there will be people that will look for a silver one day. And vice versa. It's a matter of taste, and the winner is you when you have the right decision. Okay. Loving my Mercury and Iridium. See, different people, different amps. Siggy House, well, hi Thomas. You didn't struggle with the different sound level of the strings because of the staggered pole pieces. The G string too loud. Yes. Do I struggle? Well, I give a fuck. That's my answer. We can now go into detail and do the... That G string is definitely too loud. Listen. Okay. Let me switch for the bridge pickup. Way more balanced. Now look at my pole pieces. Can we show it with maybe the other camera? Oh, not even. But so you can see the middle pickup, which I played first, has a higher magnet on the G string, and this is pretty flat. And that's a dangerous thing to do on vintage Strat pickups, but I did it when I was 17. I simply pushed it further inwards. And that's the moment where your holy grail pickup can die. I was simply lucky that it didn't. And I did it. By the way, I did the same for the neck pickup because I was young and had no fear. Now, I would live with that. The middle pickup is actually a rewound pickup by Andreas Gloppmann with reverse thing, so I can reduce the hum just like a more modern Strat. And honestly, I know that the middle pickup is kind of out of balance, but I tell you another thing on my original guitar, which kind of sucks when you really pay attention, and this is like my neck pickup. Typical thing on a Stratocaster is that the scratch plate breaks, and this screw here is very close to the edge, and therefore when the scratch plate dries out, there's a crack. And what happens on all these guitars is, maybe you can see it, this would be ideal when it would be flat, just like everywhere else on this scratch plate. But with the crack, it moves up, and maybe you can see that the neck pickup moves closer to the string, up to a point where it's so close. Wait a minute, can we show that? Try this one. It's so close that it nearly touches the pickup. I show you. So I would be happy if it would be down there like any new pickup. So, and I show you what happens, what's the difference in volume. So it's like twice as loud, and that's, if I would try to put it further inwards, it would, the thread of the screw is not long enough, so it disappears in the scratch pad. And what happens now is like versus bridge pickup. Actually, the bridge pickup is really balanced compared to that way too big bass. So do I have, what was the question? Do I struggle with different sound level of strings because of the staggered pole pieces? Well, I do struggle, and I give a fuck. That's the answer. Would you change this on the guitar? I had this scratch plate fixed with super glue. It's maybe okay for a year and then it comes back. Shall I put on a new scratch plate? Shall I clean the guitar? Everybody says yes. You know what? It works. And I have found my peace with it, even if it's not perfect. Knowing that's not perfect, but I decided that's this guitar and I play it as it is. And there are moments where I think, oh, this is actually a lot of bass. And there are moments where I think, there's a lot of bass and it's great, you know? So I take it as it is. So all my nerdiness in certain aspects have also a counterpart that says, make music and don't overthink. Okay, next question. Spielst du nur mit Kabel oder auch mit Funk? Do I play with cable only or do I use a wireless system? Well, I'm a cable kind of guy in general because, let's put it that way, wireless is cool because you can move on stage, you can do a lot of show, and you are not restricted by the length of your cable and stuff like that. But I have a lot of gain on tap with some sounds, and I like to reduce it with the volume on the guitar, which means if I use a wireless, in those situations I would have more noise, because it's a very critical and sensitive situation, because I have like almost no signal from here, and then so much gain on the amp, and anything that is pre-gain, which is the wireless system, adds in noise. Even if it's not creating much noise, the amp on high gain will make it audible. And since I do this quite a lot, reducing high gain sounds like this one, clean channel, stupid me. You know, I'm happy for all the noise that it's not produced. that's me, the purist. If I had to play a stadium show and have to make more show, I would use a wireless, no worries. So there's always pros and cons for everything. Yeah, I got used to my cables, and I will do a cable episode too, because cables also sound slightly different as wireless do, and we can also compare wireless to cable in that episode. It's on my agenda. And yeah, Schärfentiefe says latency is also an issue. Less latency is more directness, and therefore anything that has no latency is more a friend than thinks of latency, because latency ends up, and a cable has zero latency. And I'm not saying latency is a bad thing, but when you have latency from your wireless, you can probably move further, but it is like 3 meters more just because of the latency of the wireless system. So with my cable, I can go on the other side of the stage, on a small stage, 6 meter maybe, and there is zero latency coming from the system. I only have the audible latency coming from my speaker. If you play in-ear monitors, that's a different game, because there is zero latencies in your ear, and then you can afford some latencies from your wireless or from your modeler. But I'm old school. I want my speaker there. I make my monitor mix with where I'm standing and what I'm focusing on. In my monitor on stage, there's nothing but my voice, guitar, and nothing else. Guitar is where it is, drums. I need nothing on my monitor. And that's old school, and it works fine. Because if I don't like the sound, I can simply move 1 meter to another spot, and I have a different sound on stage, and I can enjoy that one. And then when it's getting boring, I move a little bit to another place, and I enjoy that. When you have in-ear monitors, you are trapped. This is what you get. Maybe it's perfect, and you're totally happy, but it's all the same the whole night, and it's directly in your ears. Again, it's two aspects, two sides. I'm not judging on what you like better. I just have my experience and can share that with you guys. And my experience is I like old school. Yeah, if I would be a singer, maybe different discussion, because I know how good a singer feels with a great monitor. And in-ear monitoring is something that is good for singers. But for guitar players, I love old school in the venues that I play. Okay, personal opinion. That would make a great episode. Yeah, let's do something besides the buffering episode. Great recap, thank you. Okay. Valeska says, Niels, aha. Tom Wendt is here. Tom Wendt, Skating Duck Production, is a long-term friend of mine. And I met him at Number One, which is so cool. He used to have an office on the Phoenixhof, which is where the whole Number One thing is. And Tom Wendt is, I know him since the early days when he was working for Steinberg Software, and he was the press guy that was doing all the information into the orbit. And now he's doing that for Kemper amplifiers. And yeah, we have always something to talk. And Tom, we wanted to do a live stream about the digital amps and my past in digital amps and your past and all the projects we have done and people don't know about. So Tom is on my wish list for this year. So, Alien Love Secrets, how do you break the loop when your playing starts to sound the same no matter how much you practice? Okay, how do you break the loop when your playing starts to sound the same? Well, do something different. When when I get bored of myself because I play the same shit, which I do, the problem is a mental thing. Does AC/DC believe they are shit because they play the same shit every night for the last 50 years? No, they like what they are doing. And that's a quality by itself. Not diminishing their artistry. It's like, if you found something that you like, you can enjoy it 100 times. You know, I'm a fan of whatever, my drink here, or a specific beer, or I have my early morning tea. Other people prefer their coffee. And, you know, we all have things that we favor. And they become a routine, but they, you know, if you have a great coffee in the morning and you enjoy that, it's maybe a ritual. Should you think, oh, I'm not exciting anymore because my coffee. Hey, if you're honest and you think about it, man, this coffee was great again. Even you do the same every day. And that's the same in music. You don't have to put yourself down just because you repeat yourself. And on the other hand, if you want to escape because you feel like you want to have something fresh, it's just like going on a vacation. It's just like having a holiday. Change the scenery, change something, change the sound, change the approach, and just for instance, the pentatonic box is one thing. As I showed you, it's like I was changing into diatonic Dorian, and then I was using the box one higher, because that kind of fingering, which is natural, brings other notes. And then when you're listening to what you are playing, you will discover new things, just like being on holiday. You know, take a break from your solid and great pentatonic box number one and just move on to another one. Or by the way, there's another one here. Or just think about a concept like playing one string or diatonic. Or slide. Yeah, or double stops. Or there is different vocabulary that you can learn. You have to find the peace of mind with what you are doing. And if you tend to put yourself down too much, I think you should work on your self-concept. Oh, this is psychology part heavy. You know, do you think that Angus Young of AC/DC is bored by what he is playing? Do you think he learns Giant Step by Charlie Parker silently at home? Maybe he does, but I think what I heard, he's painting. So he has other fields to express himself beside the music. And his recipe is great because it's simple. This is why other people understand it, and AC/DC is instantly recognizable, and it has a very, very intense energy. For me, it's like Italian pizza. The ingredients is super simple. There is flour, there is tomato sauce, and that's the basic, and maybe cheese, yeah. And then the rest is fungi, which is mushrooms, and then whatever, pepperoni, salami, prosciutto, or the leftovers from yesterday, and make it calzone. And that's all possible, but it's 3 basic ingredients. And if you have your standard pizza with all the, it's already great tasting. And AC/DC is having those 3 ingredients. And don't focus too much on the fancy stuff, which is another art form. It's also great. But is there anything bad about basic great pizza if it tastes great? I don't think so. You know, so simplicity is a quality when you are happy with it. Because what people can feel and hear and smell is if you are happy. And I don't think that Angus Young expresses unhappiness. No, this guy is in the zone of what he wanted to do, what he's doing. That's why he still is doing it. I think he has enough money. He could retire and paint somewhere, but he still loves what he's doing. And no matter what music it is, if it's jazz, bebop, funk, rock, soul, reggae, metal, punk or blues, if you are happy with what you're doing, other people will like it too. So, and that goes even further on the level of the licks and the scales and the note choices. Do you think Santana is Santana, and that's his quality? And other players play more notes, but we don't have to. If the notes have the right expression, if you have a message, if you have an emotion, that's the message, in your note, you can enjoy that. And you don't need hundreds of notes. One note can say it all. One note samba. Doop, doop, doop. Oh, this is already 2 notes in samba. Okay, joking. Make it 2 notes then, if one is not enough. Okay, oh, there's all the Niels Finkeisen from #1 Guitar Center Hamburg is also in the chat. We have okay. Big John's guitars. Okay, I was live streaming alone, and Mercury was so good, felt amazing, and sounded out. Yeah, as I showed you earlier, the AMP1 sounds rich at any volume, even at bedroom volume. Okay. Sheriff okay. Next, Ollie P, perhaps you could talk about your right hand pattern during fast runs. Okay, that sounds like a practice technique. Yes and yes. What is my right hand? When I grew up on Blackmore, and I grew up also on Aldi Müller. And both of them can play pretty fast, which I couldn't back in the days when I was a teenager. So I was thinking how to get fast. And somebody said it's alternate picking. By the way, this is the Highway Star part of the solo where it's getting fast. If you think alternate picking, down, up, down, there comes the point where this doesn't get any faster. And this is like when I have the drill machine, I have to switch gear to number 2 instead of. So this is what I'm doing now is my right hand, and I try to make it only from the wrist downwards. It's doing the up and down strokes, but I think more like a Greek mandolin player, you know. I try not to use the whole arm. I try to make the movement as little and precise as possible. So wait a minute, let me move to the camera. So, and now the challenge is from on gear 2, where my right hand is having the right speed. I make the accent because I know that's my first, finger here. And all the other 3 notes, they have to fall into the place of the up and down strokes for my motor. Get it? I cannot think. That's the speed limit on gear 1. I have to switch gear, and this is how it's done. So that's a technique that I practiced. And the way I do that is I switch to gear 2 here, and the rest is like I have to make the left hand meet the ones and the note in between. And the more they are in sync, the better it is. And I was mentioning El Di Meola, and it's like if you play the whole thing muted, it's even harder. And this is what this guy did. And Romantic Warrior is the album Return to Forever, Chicorea. Al Di Meola was 18 and he was playing songs unbelievable. Something like and this guy was playing that fast. Yeah, I was shocked when I heard it because I couldn't do it. And then I was young, whatever, 15, and I practiced hard. And I learned that I kind of have the 2 gears and that I cannot speed up first gear faster than that. My motor is not fast enough. I have to switch gears in the way I think about playing fast. And then comes experience how to survive playing fast without fucking it up. It's just like, imagine if you going downstairs. When you are a kid, you learn right leg, left leg, next stair, next stair, next stair. And that kind of thinking takes a lot of time. But when you are in a hurry and you start to run and run stairs, it's like, okay, you just have to have a rhythmic pattern that goes with the stairs or you fall, and that was it. And that's the kind of thing that I learned to work on when playing fast. And that's, again, a thing that has something to do with technique, but it also has something to do with confidence. Like, when I'm confident that I can meet the last note, I get there. And nobody cares what I played in between, what wrong notes I played in between, as long as I land on the right note, you know? That's why I always preach, love the groove, because the groove gives you this extra energy that gives you, or gives me the confidence to meet the beat. And when I land on the beat, everything is fine. And the notes in between are still there. Okay. Wow, we're having a big, different episode. I wasn't expecting that. But nice. Seitenschuft, the thing you should hear when you hear tells you, tells and play that note. Wait, the thing is you should hear what your heart it tells, yeah, and play that note. The heart, okay, that's another thing. Where's my live DVD? Guitar from the Heart. Guitar from the Heart. Yeah, it's, wait a minute, Guitar from the Heart. And that's a good point, because it shouldn't be guitar from the brain. You know, this is kind of the circus kind of things you can do, showing off, and you show a combination of killer whatever things you practice, which is cool too, but I'm more touched by players that play the notes that come from the heart, or wherever they come from. It's like Jeff Beck, he plays the notes that, how did Richie Blackmore tell about Jeff Beck? Richie Blackmore said Jeff Beck is his favorite guitar player. And he said, but he's cheating. And he's cheating because he has notes on his guitar which he doesn't. And what he means is, with a little humor, it's not because of the instrument, because they both played Stratocasters, and I'm sure that when Jeff Beck would have picked up Richie's guitar, he would still sound like Jeff Beck, and vice versa. But the amount of freedom and expression of a personality was shining through in a way with Jeff Beck, which was outstanding. There's nobody like Jeff Beck on the guitar creating notes that are so weird, intense, and meaningful. I would, that's my opinion. And I get inspired by listening to a few Jeff Beck notes. That is a reminder of just be yourself, because that's what Jeff Beck was. He of course he had influences in the 50s and with other players, but I think he stopped really listening to other guitar players in the way that we are learning licks and shreds and whatnot. He became himself with the instrument on a level like probably no other guitar player, my opinion. Okay, and those notes came from the heart. And that's the same thing when I record something myself, where I have a few notes that express my heart, my deepest feeling from my heart. And I believe that's a big, big, big value. Okay. Are guitar amps, preamps similar to console preamps like a Neve or SSL Class A transistor? Are guitar amp preamps? Yes and no. I would say, what is a mixing console preamp? A mixing console preamp was designed to connect mainly to microphones or line signals. So the input is a microphone, and the guitar have some similarities. For instance, it's always good if you have a high impedance input for a microphone, and it's good to have a high impedance input for a guitar pickup, passive guitar pickup. Why? Because the frequency range opens up with the amount of impedance of the input stage. And a good mic preamp will make a classic Shure SM57 come alive, and a bad one will sound a little bit like this. And then you hear everything, but something is missing. Something of the clarity about how wide the sound is. So that this is like the aspect of a high impedance input, which is similar. But what is a guitar input? I kind of refer a lot of things to the old vintage amps, because this is what this kind of instrument is designed for. And we're still playing these kind of input stages. Typically, a guitar amp input stage has 1 mega ohm. The AMP1, by the way, has 2 mega ohms, so the pickups even breathe a little bit more. I've done this because I like it. Most guitar amps have 1 mega ohm, like the Marshalls, but then when you bridge them, you have 1 mega ohm and another mega ohm, and then you have only 500 kilo ohms. And that gives you a different effect with the pickups. It's all good for something, and it's a matter of taste in the end. But what is different in guitar amp preamps to mixing console preamps is a mixing console was not designed to make any kind of overdrive. So the circuitry is designed high headroom, as clean as can be, with no THD, with no overtones, with no saturation. There comes the point where it starts to saturate, but they try to avoid that. Like, that's not for mixing consoles. In a guitar amp, we love to drive stages into clipping. We love to crank this up and have the edge of breakup sound. And there comes the difference. Next thing is frequencies. A mixing console preamp is designed to be neutral first, and then can be tweaked with an EQ. So when the EQ is off, the signal should be flat as possible. In a guitar preamp, there is a lot of coloration, like the second stage, maybe the first stage in a tube amp. I'm referring to a tube amp because it's probably easier to understand. The first stage might have still a very wide frequency range with a lot of bass because you like it for the clean sound. But the second stage, the moment when there comes some overtones from overdriven stages, most amp designers start to reduce the bass because it farts out. Play an old Fender and you know what I mean. Crank the bass on 10 and it sounds like and the moment you play, you put the bass to 3 and put the rest up a little bit, it sounds like guitar as we like it. And that's already a very strange EQ curve, because the tone stack is a passive network with filter and phase things that give the guitar preamp a character. Totally different thing with the mixing console preamp. There is no character, there is linear, that's part of the character. And then we can talk on the last 5% how much sweeter or whatever, more direct a preamp in the mixing console sounds versus another one. Different approaches, from like neutral to creating character in every stage by changing frequencies, by creating overtones and driving stages in saturation. Even clean amps do have this kind of signal processing. Okay, oh man, Vox is a class A when it's clean because both halves of the valves are working in the same time. With higher, they go more into push-pull mode. So Vox amplifiers, my Vox is the company, has a very specific power amp, and it's getting very hot. That's kind of a class A thing, because in the class A design, the voltage is always full on, and the modulated signal is modeled on the full speed. If you have a class AB, you have a push-pull design where the positive part of the wave and the negative part of the wave is split with a phase inverter, and then it comes to two output tubes and they kind of work in a tandem, and the output transformer kind of puts them back together and changes the high impedance to the low impedance of the speaker. And yeah, that's another episode on technology. What is class A, class AB? What is class D? Well, a class D, people refer as digital amps. No, it is a not triggered. What is the English word? Switch. It switches on the voltage with a super high frequency of 1 megahertz or 2 megahertz underneath the wave. Super efficient. This is why this thing doesn't produce much heat, and this is why an AMP1 only takes 13 watts when it's plugged into, and any more power depends really on how much more you crank the signal. And if you're not cranking it, super energy efficient, 13 watts for the tube and the LEDs and the rest of the circuitry. Tube amps, 100 watts easily, 300 watts. It's basically a heater. A tube amp can heat your apartment. When you live in Siberia or in Alaska, it's probably a cool thing, but not needed here. Okay, I'm wearing my shorts. No heater needed. When using the BluBOX, I find I like the mic out into a mic preamp. Is the balanced output transformer also flavoring the sounds? Yes. So BluBOX is our speaker emulator, and it's as simple as can be. There's only 16 cabinets and a mic position filter that simulates the position of a microphone on a speaker. And I combined the IR functionality, because this is IR loader, but only with my fixed 16 cabinets, with a built-in transformer, just like a DI box. A DI box is something usually that big, and that's not a big one, that's a small one, but this is the DI box. Compared to the BluBOX, it's almost half the size, or it's already kind of as big as a BluBOX. And what's in there is basically just a transformer. And so I thought it's cool to have a real transformer with a ground lift switch in the BluBOX, and the transformer makes that balanced signal just like a microphone. Because when you go on stage, people ask for, hey, how do I mic up your guitar? And the answer is, get rid of the microphone, just give me the cable, plug it in there, and you're good to go. And I'm doing this for the last 10 years. Only miking up cabinets is an exception of the rule. I even record albums with that, and for life, I'm not using anything else anymore. Of course, I do a test here and there, and some engineers, they put on some mics in front of my cabinets because they have fun to do it. And whatever makes the world happy is fine. But 99% of my gigs and recordings, it's just that. Talking about a transformer, the transformer is it's a coil, and it has like two coils for transferring a magnetic field, and that's coupling the output to decoupling the output from the input, and it's an isolation transformer. So you can have a different ground here, which comes handy because ground loops is another big topic for hum and strange noises. So that's why the DI box was invented. And now, using a component like a transformer, I always have the tendency that everything that I use, I can analyze, and I can think, do I like this better, or do I like this better, or do I like, and then I found out, oh, the DI boxes can actually sound slightly different. And then what I usually do is like, okay, let's check some options, and I find out there are different transformer suppliers and there are different transformers out there. So I pick the one that I like better. And that's what I have done on the BluBOX. And the transformer in the BluBOX is sweetening the signal in a way that I thought it's cool, and that's why I have done it. Okay, next, where's... it's like with your wife, you keep her even though she is not perfect. Yeah, okay. I had this discussion with my wife. No, it's not my wife, my girlfriend, long-term girlfriend. We had it for many years. It's always that little fight and that little relief. I guess your wife is out today and doesn't read this. Yes, there are certain topics I believe females react slightly different to male, and they understand certain things differently. It is the brain, it is whatever, but it has always also, this has two sides, It can be a nightmare, but it can be also so pleasant. So let's focus on the good things in life. Okay, there are Bluguitar plectrum with a strange shape. Why are these picks shaped like an arrow? I do have, where are my Bluguitar picks? Hey, this becomes a huge Q&A. Fucking hell. Do I have one? Wait a minute. One sec, where is it? Yeah. Here. So, and this is the shape. Richie Blackmore, everybody knows I'm a Blackmore fan, and this is the Blackmore shape. And what does it say? Is the Bluguitar? No, it's a Thomas Blug signature. Yeah. And we were talking about playing fast. So, what do I like about those picks? The strange is so weird that you have to change the way you play. And since this pointy thing is there, it teaches you how to make that motor speed 2, what I was always looking for playing fast. is kind of minimalized. So, well, basically that's the whole thing about this plectrum. It's different. Some people hate it, other people love it. It is an experience like any pick, and there is no only one pick is the best. Try out different picks, maybe try out these as well, because they are very different. Okay, that was the pick question. Yeah, why are they shaped like an arrow? Because these pointy side, and there's a trigger point where the plectrum lets the string loose, which I kind of think is special with this arrow pointy pick. Okay, with cable, no battery problems. Yes, exactly. Less electrical things can make your life easier because you don't have to worry. Yeah, there's great wireless systems, of course. But you made advertising for Xvive wireless. Yes, because the Xvive wireless, let's explain. Xvive is a Chinese company that are friends of mine, and they actually manufacture the BluBOX for me. And my Chinese, I have different Chinese manufacturers for Bluguitar. One for the BluBOX, one for the AMP1, and another one for the cabinets. And then I have a Korean speaker manufacturer. Why do I have no German companies? I tell you why. I love to work with German engineers, but I have made very bad experience with German production. Not saying that they can't do it, but I was not lucky with them. And what I do like about the Chinese is when you choose the right ones, they do exactly what you tell them. They have no problem if you tell them you make this like that. That's the process. And they are happy if you tell them the stupidest things 100 times, and then when you have done it right, they are happy to make sure you get the same thing. They are not getting creative, which we Western people like to do. I remember, no, I'm not saying that, but in production, I have seen people solving problems. Oh, we don't have this, so we probably use that. That's not the kind of production that I need for Bluguitar. I want high precision. I want every AMP1 and next the AmpX sound the same, be the same. And I teach them anything that comes to mind, even where to set the knobs, how to fold the handle of the carry back, anything. And they do it. And they do it consistently, because anything that is not right will go back immediately. And we have never sent anything back. It's that good. That's scary good. Okay, and the wireless of Xvive was kind of, my Chinese friend came to me with a wireless system and said, you know, can you check it? And I told him, honestly, it's a disaster. Let's have a look at it. And then we had a look at it and worked on the analog side of how the wireless connects to the pickups and gave a few inputs. It was not, we didn't design the whole wireless. We just did a few things right. And the result was a very, very affordable, not to say cheap, wireless system that is reliable and sounds pretty good. When it was released, it was one here. It was one of the best sounding wireless. I see. There's a little note that I wrote. It's a new version that I had to check, and here we go. That's their system. Why did I do advert? I didn't get any money for them. I don't want any money. It's not about money. For me, the good thing about my business relationship with them is they help me with all my other Chinese manufacturers too. So I'm not in the hands of one company that, well, if they go tomorrow and say Bluguitar, well, they demand so much and they never make big orders. Let's get rid of them. I have more Chinese and I can control what I'm doing, because it's good to have several people on your hand. And I choose that model because I get good results and I'm still super happy about it. So that's my story with that. I'm not saying these are the best wireless. These are super affordable wireless systems that are okay and sound good. But this is already on the market for maybe 5, 6, 7 years, maybe even more, even longer. So yeah, the thing is, this is all. Maybe there is some better wireless out there. I know the Line 6 stuff is also very cool. So good stuff. Let's go. Eric Gales, on the other hand, listens to classical music privately. Yes, I mean, Eric Gales, killer player, and he brings in Little Wing and Little Mozart and maybe some Beethoven and things like that. I enjoy doing little things like that too, maybe not to the extent like he does, but I find it cool because classical music has has also some magic. Where's my classical DVD? Somewhere with the orchestra. Here we go. Classical music, they have great melodies, beats and atmosphere. And a string orchestra, just the string section, it's a killer. I was lucky to be on stage with an orchestra. If you're standing in the zone where there's whatever 16 strings behind you, that's the sound. I cannot describe it. It's an experience. If you listen from CD or vinyl or whatever, it's never the same. You have to experience that like in real. It's a trip. Okay. Speed is not music. Music comes from the heart and not from the speed. Yes, but sometimes speed can make a comment. Can be part of the music. So don't use speed for speed's sake. Use it as an ornament. This is what the classic people would call it, maybe. Rudi, how do you keep your fingers in shape on tour? I can imagine it's really fatiguing playing night after night. Yes, it is, but my secret is don't play too much. Just play the night. And when I was younger, I actually did warm up a little bit. Now I think my muscle memory and the whole thing is good enough that when I'm not like physically cold in my hand in wintertime or so, I just play a few notes and that's it. And the other trick is make the movements with your fingers small. When you go and make wide, stretches and things like that, that's hard for your whole system, for the muscles and anything, put stress. So everything is kind of rather compact with my fingers. So that's my trick. But I have been at trade shows, Musikmesse Frankfurt, where I have played for several days from the morning, 10 in the morning, like every hour or every second hour, for half an hour. I came to the point where, yeah, you can actually see my finger tips do have, what is it called? Hornhautprobleme. See? Ouch! Yeah, but the trick is I don't play next week. Although I do have gigs, but there's enough skin there. It goes away. Don't overplay, don't over practice. Just do what you need to do, warm up a little, and you're good to go. Okay. Legato hammer on pull off is my secret. Yes, that's cool. You know, anything that makes your life easier while playing, not having too much struggle, is a good thing. Having a cramp is the biggest problem that you can run into, and that's especially in summertime when you're sweating a lot, like myself, and it's hot out there, and then you overplay because you're excited about, I'm fast today, and sometimes I enjoy playing fast. I sometimes enjoy driving fast, but not for 2 hours. But then you can stress your muscles, and that's once you get stiff or cramped, start to, relax and get rid of it. Okay. To be right time, right place, no matter what notes lie in between. Yes, timing, note placements, and make pauses is very important. Also, when you talk, I should make a pause. Okay. When using a pedal board and longer cable runs, do you recommend to use a buffer pedal? Yeah, I had always natural buffers on my pedal board because I have pedals that have a buffer bypass. There is true bypass and there's buffered bypass. And I kind of like one buffer best on my always on pedal, and all the other pedals true bypass. That gives me the most puristic and the most pure sound. Thanks for having me again at Crossroads Festival. Marco Vried. Big pleasure. You will see yourself tomorrow night when we have edited the whole thing so we can see the live stream and the performances without fuck up. Rudi, so a bit late, pee pause. You made advertising for the Xvive, but my prop is it does a lot or a noise at high gain, and even my boss can. What to do? There's nothing you can do. When you have active things in front of high gain, they will always make noise, and you can. That's actually the way I was also testing things, that use a high gain sound of the amp and then use a wireless, and you will find out that any wireless is adding noise. Any wireless. By nature, there is no zero noise wireless. It's just the way how it's handled. There's a compander and what's the other thing? Expander. And Of course, the design can a little bit lower noise, but there is noise. With the cable, no noise. Added. That's how it is. So try other wireless and find one that works for you better. Other people never run into this problem, but this is how it is. And with the cable, no extra noise. Okie doke. Thanks for having me. Okay. I play a TS9 with a DoD 250, so a bit of hard and heavy Malmsteen gain. Yeah, makes sense. The DoD 250 is the Malmsteen overdrive, and the TS9 gives you a little extra punch. Good combination. Guten Abend, Christian Eckert. Guten Abend. Frage, ich nutze für verschiedene Songs verschiedene Picks. Thomas nutzt doch auch verschiedene Plektren oder verschiedenes Material. Honestly, on stage, okay, in English, he is using different picks for different songs. I do use different picks, but only in the studio. When I play live, I play the whole evening with one pick, unless I use it, lose it, or I don't change picks, and I try not to change guitar, because the more time I spend on stage with this combination, me, pick, guitar, and the longer we play, not changing the system, the more we get in sync. And the more I feel connected to the thing. And when I switch from one pick to another pick, I still can play. But somehow my brain has to adjust to this new element in the signal chain. And by not changing anything, I can be more relaxed about anything, because I forget about it. The plectrum is out of the equation. It's 5 seconds after I played with it, it's like, that's the plectrum, and the rest is, I not change anything. I don't have to think about a plectrum. I don't have to adjust about the plectrum. Different story when you are in a studio, when I try to max out the sound, and the plectrum is having a big influence on the sound. So I use a special plectrum. I have my box with 10 different plectrums or even more, and I know this kind of rhythm part needs a softer, more flexible plectrum, makes me feel differently. I can dig in harder or whatever, and then maybe I change such a feel to a different material, but not on stage. Okay. Hey guys, this was a lot of Q&A, unexpectedly, because we had the technical issues with the live stream. So I will now record my announcements in the live stream, and you will hear or can see the live stream tomorrow night. Same place, 8:15, we can start it on time because there's no human factor anymore. And yeah, I hope that we can enjoy all the guest appearances that we had at the Crossroads Guitar Festival. Watch out, there's more to come. There's Marco Vried, but there's Rudi, there's Kira, there is Michael Sargmeister, killer jazz player from Frankfurt area, and I have so many videos. There's Holger from Sandberg basses, and D.T. Borchardt, there is Yassi Hofer. Okay, again, sorry that we had the technical fuck-ups. We will fix that. You can watch the whole thing tomorrow night, 8:15. And thanks for the good questions. I was not prepared for anything, but I kind of, I'm happy to answer good questions. And by the way, if you don't know what this is, can anyone answer this? Oh. We call it the CC turner because CC are the custom controls. And for those complaining about our side knobs being too small, you can put it on your side knobs and have now a different feel while turning the knobs with the CC turner. We are stupid inventing things that, well, if it makes you happy, it's good. I have one here. Thanks, guys, and see you tomorrow then. I'll be in the chat, but I'll be, I can only be interactive in the chat for technical reasons. And next week we have a metal episode again with Emanuel Knorr, and when we see each other again from this place, there might be some other changes because I ordered something. Surprise, surprise, stay tuned. And hey, if you haven't seen the Les Paul episode of last week, 110 years of Les Paul, watch it because this guy was a genius. He was one of the coolest guitar player. This guy was one of the coolest inventors, and it's not only the name on that guitar. You should see that. And yeah, we have the test weeks coming up with AMP1 Iridium and Twin Cap, which will start soon. And of course, Emanuel Knorr will also be somebody that helps you. When we do test weeks, you can get the gear. You have 3 weeks of testing, I believe it is, and we help you for all the questions, which means you can ask us how to get this sound and how to get this combination, whatever it takes. And for the Iridium test weeks, we have also Emanuel Knorr, since he is the younger metal experienced guy, and myself. So we have a lot of hopefully competent people helping you to get to know what this can do for you. And then you can still decide if you don't like it, fair enough. We just want you to try out what we are doing because we are proud of it, or at least I am. And you should know what time it is with what we are doing. Anyway, thanks guys. See you tomorrow night then. Cheers.